everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Late Night Craft Talk. This is a special night. We have a cool person on, two cool people, and we're talking a fun subject we've never actually covered on the show tonight. So obviously we said this last week. Svea is out of town. She's off at Disneyland, selling her birthday, and there's Maya. Hello, Maya. Off celebrating her birthday tonight. So we have our favoriteest person that has been on the show more times that is not Svea or James. We have tonight, Wendy Hodge is back.
Hey.
That was the Wendy hey, not the Fonzie hey, the Wendy hey.
The Wendy Friday night hey.
You got it. Wendy, when you jumped the shark, I bet you had fish tacos afterwards. Shark fish tacos.
Of course I did.
Of course, because like the Fonzie jumped the shark, but he just jumped the shark. You had tacos afterward.
It was like years ago when Ron was still living at home. We were watching Shark Week and eating supper, and he goes, "What is this?" Because it was a fish. I told him we were having seafood, and he goes, "What is this?" And we're watching Shark Week, and I said, "That," and pointed at the screen. He freaked out a little.
Good. All right, let me do. Remember, sharing is caring. I'm doing my part. I am looking for the video. And folks, if you're wondering what that countdown screen is this week, that is actually a new trail that was built at a service project I was helping admin and go do. That is actually a new trail that was put in from one parking lot to another at Amboy Crater National Scenic Area, or whatever national place. And that was was overseen with the Bureau of Land Management from tonight's guest, Mona Daniels from the Needles Office of the Bureau of Land Management. We're working with a bunch of scouts way out off the Mojave Desert. We are so far out there that it is proof that the earth is flat because we're about to fall off the edge. It is way out there, and that is walking the trail, the brand new trail out there. And that's one of the cool places you can go to in Mojave, and this is specifically, it's in the Mojave Desert, but Mojave Trails National Monument. And it's one of the encompassing areas we're going to be talking about tonight. So I got to do my sharing.
I can almost see that from my house, you know.
Yeah, you live like what, 45, 50 minutes from here?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you could drive there less than an hour. It takes me 2.5. An hour and a half just get to your place. I'll be over in your neck of the woods tomorrow morning.
And it takes me only about 10 minutes to get to National Park, Joshua Tree National Park.
Absolutely. Did you hear about that new development going in over by Indian Cove, 126 acres resort?
Oh yeah, it's a huge to do up here.
Yeah, is the town like split between liking it and not liking it?
Yeah. Because it's right. I mean, it's right on a neighborhood, and so people are kind of concerned, and rightly so, that they've got to keep their kids, pets, and everything inside because of all the traffic going up and down.
Yeah,
and I was reading loudness and people, and a large crowd of people who don't live here and don't really care are going to do to the place.
So much truth to that. On a Center for Biological Diversity. I'm getting the name wrong. The Center for Biological Diversity has actually announced with some neighbors a lawsuit, like it was in the paper yesterday or today, to do that, to stop that development. It's just part of that larger ecosystem you get with that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that affects. It goes away a piece at a time. When you look at that, a piece of the desert, and you're gonna, once you lose places like what we're looking at in the video, once it's gone, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Once it's paved over. Well, the desert will eventually reclaim it because, we can't have nice things in, the human race. Nature will reclaim it, but what we have right there, preserve, that's there now, gone. With that, we got a whole show to dwell on that one. Excuse me, but I just shared the show.
Got it.
And we got more people signing on. What?
Are you going to change the banner? Because I don't think we're talking about knots tonight. I'm pretty sure we're not talking about knots tonight.
No, that's something. Thank you. That is actually a relic from 2 weeks ago. No, that was last week, wasn't it?
Last week.
Last week, yeah. Can't change. That's actually embedded in the video. So, folks, this is not late, not craft talk. This is a James Whoopsie. Remember, I'm brain damaged. Whoops. How did I cut that whole thing and not catch that?
Because you didn't have me proofread your stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, Wendy's been nice enough to proofread some of my term papers for school, which I got to talk about that. And she, because you know, as one person we both knew, to quote them, says, "You have other people proofread your work because you might something out."
Well, it's always a good idea because when you make the mistake, you're gonna read. You're just gonna read right over it. Somebody else that hasn't seen it will see the mistake or see a period or a quotation mark or whatever.
Totally, it's you can't see the forest for the trees on that one. But
Especially
we're
can't see the
okay. Maya
person.
says it's okay, James.
So Maya asked if the paths were that narrow. Are you going to answer that in the show or now?
Now because we're, you know, this is just one aspect. The paths seem narrow to me. They're about. Well, we got Mona in the virtual green room. I can see her right there. Mona can just shake her head. Yes, these are about 3 feet wide on average, right? Yeah, about 3 feet wide because we're seeing Mona right there in the virtual green room. I can see her damn if she's going. Yes, so yeah, 3 feet wide. Some of the places maybe a couple feet where the basalt gets kind of narrow. It's just the way it is. I mean, you don't want to exactly create a trail and knock off the basalt right there, which is the old lava. You don't exactly want to, you know, destroy that because you're there because of it. And some of these trails are actually going through natural cracks when the lava is cooling.
Hey, you know, with all the other volcanoes around the world popping off, we could be next.
Yeah, I just drove by an active volcano today down in Imperial Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Obsidian Buttes, that's considered an active volcano, even though even its Wikipedia entry says it's rather diminutive and unimpressive as a volcano. And I'm quoting the article in Wikipedia. Maya is proving that she is down to our level a little bit. Yep. I make mistakes all the time.
What?
Okay, 2.5 minutes to go. We got some late people signing on late tonight. I'm doing a little technical stuff here to get ready for the phone. Folks, we do have some special stuff. We are going to be covering stuff of the week. Today's the week class started, and I got some other news as far as the medical career path thing. And as promised last week, we are presenting tonight a pinnacle of Western civilization. Mountain biking in a kilt. We will be preparing that tonight, folks, right here on the show. We are making history tonight on that. 2 minutes. What are we going to do for 2 minutes?
We could sing songs or make up spooky stories about what happens in the Amboy Crater area at night when nobody's around or after you've gone to bed.
Yeah, there's some spooky stuff that happens there. There's some crazy ghost stories from like the 80s, 90s. Okay, Sharon's caring. Yeah, we got a slow start tonight. All right, waiting. We go live in a minute and 15 seconds. I am drinking my water. Lots tonight. Lots of cool stuff. We got some birthdays this week too. I heard this week it's Wendy. It's not your birthday, right?
No.
It's your unbirthday?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. 51 seconds to go.
Yeah, Maya, trees are hard to find out here when you get out into the true desert, unless you find an oasis somewhere, because mostly it's just kind of like you see here, the scrub, creosote bushes, maybe some low mesquite, but depends on the water table. But yeah, that's a lot what we see out here, where it's not untamed wilderness, so to speak.
You know, the water table there is stupid low. That's why it's just so dry in that area. Okay, you ready for countdown?
Yeah. In like 4 seconds.
10.
9.
6. 5.
Oh, yours is going faster than me. 4.
2, 1. Yeah, it looks like it is. Showtime, folks.
Let's get the clock.
It's time for Late Night Craft Talk with hosts Svea Yang and James Hermes. On this week's show, Mona Daniels from the Needles Office of the Bureau of Land Management, here to tell us about recreational opportunities in the Mojave Desert. To abandon an ice cream sundae in the Mojave Desert is to desert your dessert in a desert. Now it's time to start the show.
The camera keeps on resetting to wide angle.
I think it's.
Why is it doing that?
Have you been snacking a lot lately?
The camera obviously thinks I have. Let me do a little fix.
You know what they say in Hollywood? Camera adds 10 pounds.
I'm thinking it does because of what angle, and I think the camera's just trying to insult me. It's like every time I keep on resetting it, wants to go wide again. Anyway, all right, folks, welcome to this week's episode of Late Night Craft Talk. Tonight we have Mona Daniels from the Needles Office, the Bureau of Land Management, to talk about recreational opportunities in the Mojave Desert. If you don't know much about the Mojave Desert, what you can go out there for, just think it's a bunch of desert or what you zip through on 15 to go to Vegas, you are going to learn so much tonight. And believe me, we're only touching the surface. We're going to be covering areas where Wendy can throw a rock and hit.
Pretty much.
Yep. And we're going to reaffirm your
belief.
belief.
I don't live at the end of the world, but I can see it from my porch.
You beat me to the joke because I was about to talk. We're going to have proof to do that tonight. All right. So we got some stuff. We got a thing to promise as far as another pinnacle Western civilization, but let me do the mission statement real quick. And if you're watching, don't remind me about the banner. We've got some shows on a PowerPoint that's kind of a broad screen, so I'm not putting up the banner tonight that says Late Night Craft Talk, not talk. And it has the business logos. I'm purposely leaving that off just so I don't forget to do it later, because usually Savannah, our bouncing tag team, doing the media, and she covers some stuff, I cover another. Tonight it's all me, so I'm purposely leaving it off so I don't set myself up for a James moment. But anyway, mission statement, Late Night Craft Talk. We have been going on for 5 years and what's the math? 3 months. We started during the pandemic, late April of 2020, as a way to feed something to do because we're all bored and locked in, but as a way to feature artists and their inspiring artwork and people that are inspiring and just awesome what they do and bring their story. And we've continued the show all the way here, August 2025. So 5 years, not a short amount of time. And we've had lots of fun doing it. Going to keep on happening. And that's our mission statement right there. It is a show collaboratively put on by Elk Rack Traders and Dancing Bear Indian Trader. And we do stream to the Facebook business pages of Dancing Bear and Elk Rack, the YouTube channels of Dancing Bear and Elk Rack, and the Twitch channels, which is where we usually get our trolls. No offense to anybody watching on Twitch, but that's where they seem to come from. Help us fight the trolls. So 6 places at once we're at right now. Makes me dizzy. And you see Carol Ann's on?
I saw Carol Ann. Hi, Carol Ann.
Yeah, happy Friday. Hello, Carol Ann. Hello to James and Wendy. Awesomeness. So our audience is bouncing up. People are on kind of late. And my camera reset again.
Told you. Gotta quit that.
I'm just going to go with it. It is. I'm seriously just going to go with it. Maybe I'll reset it during the show, but there's parts of my office that, well, it's an office, it's a workspace. It's supposed to be not cleaner than usual.
We've seen your office before. Don't be shy.
It's kind of messy.
Okay, that.
With that information given away. All right. Couple quick announcements for hello, Carol Ann Blackwood. Yep. From Maya. Maya says to Carol Ann, we are playing switchboard operator. Hello. All right. We're not going to do much banner. We're kind of running late on what we should be doing. So let me get to business real quick. Announcements from Dancing Bear Indian Trader. They will be at Semmelweil Powwow third weekend of September. Look for them there. And coming up for those viewers, they do have the bead shop hop coming up in just a couple of weeks. Matter of fact, next week's show will be Svea. I'll be at Verona Powwow next weekend. will be Svea and another co-host. We're hoping for Christy Nieto, and they'll be talking about the beach shop hop. Announcements from Elk Rack Traders. We will be, you can get ready for this, 1 week from tonight. Labor Day weekend, Friday through Sunday evening. We will be at Barona Powwow down by Lakeside, El Cajon, that area, San Diego County. Look for us there. I love that powwow. It is so fun. So look for us there. Loving it. Okay. With that, all right. We promised something last week. Matter of fact, we'll get to that. Updates, events of the week. Anything to share, Wendy, on your end?
Another day without another day. Yeah, I have something to share. Another day without algebra and rain.
And rain?
And rain.
Yeah, algebra is, I started my algebra class this week. There's a reason why I call it my Lex Luthor. If algebra was Thanos, it would have already done the blip and I would have been, snapped his fingers and I would have been one of the people blipped. I hate algebra. And I have to do this class if I wanted to go to PA school. And let's just say that it is torture. It's going to be a semester of torture. Not liking it. I did great in the statistics class. This one, no, it's doing this to me, beating the snot out of me. All right. Christy Nieto. Yeah, she was on the show for Maya. Christy Nieto was on the show a few times the first year. She helped do that. She's a fun person. We haven't had the show a couple of years. We're actually going to have her on some point in the fall to talk about chickens she's raising. She moved from Seattle to Tennessee, and she's actually from San Diego. She was one of our big guests on our taco show to explore who has the best tacos. All right. With that, the algebra, okay. For the first time, this week's kind of big thing. Last Tuesday was my first shift working a local clinic. This is my first time acting in a role of healthcare, other than the Boy Scouts, in a public setting, using my license since probably 1995. I am doing a shift about a few times a month with a local clinic. I'll eventually be talking about them, give the name, tell who it is. I went out and doing community outreach, what's called street medicine, where we go out and, assess and look for the healthcare needs of the homeless and people that are underinsured. We went and visited some homeless encampments. It is something I've done actually as little as a few years ago with another group, but this is actually the first time working as a licensed healthcare worker. So yeah, I call that the first day of the rest of my life working that. So that's a big thing, folks. That's the major step toward being able to become a PA and eventually do my goal of putting a human brain in a robot body. Wendy has not volunteered yet.
You can't handle this brain.
No, I don't think anything can.
Can't handle the finger. You can't handle the brain.
Can you want to review what the finger is? Because people are going to be thinking, shall I explain or you?
Go ahead.
Okay. There's this thing we call the Wendy finger. When I'm out kayaking, if there's lots of wind, I know Wendy's taking all her energy, the cosmic to the whole Galactus thing, the power cosmic, and points it a certain direction, and the wind will blow like hell. And I will have 5-foot waves coming at me, and I will go, Wendy. Ugh. That's called the power of the Wendy finger. I don't know if you want to show it on.
It's all connected because for those of us that are old enough to remember Romper Room had Wendy the Weather Girl. So see, it just all connected.
I forgot about Wendy the Weather Girl. I had Romper Room.
Mm-hmm.
We're not old. Sure. We're definitely older than a 1-year-old, but we're way younger than a 100-year-old. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Pinnacle?
I'm older today than I was yesterday.
But you're younger now than you will be tomorrow.
Exactly.
That's the thing to celebrate today. With that, Pinnacle, we're already running like 5 minutes late. Okay, folks, last week we explained, I promised, something stupendous, something momentous that will shake your world. There are such acts and such people of history, such as Alexander the Great, to conquer the ancient world. Other major figures. God, I want to cough a bunch. I need water. Anyway, I think I might be a coffee just because I'm full of BS. Yeah. Such momentous points in history. And that has recently happened. What we'd like to call a pinnacle of Western civilization. Something that changes it. Where your life will have a whole meaning. That when you get done, you'll be like, you are so astounded, so amazed, witnessing something so amazing in human history, human civilization. The life will be meaningless and empty afterward. We have one of those moments tonight, folks. Prepare yourselves, folks. I need to get the video lined up. For last week, we promised a pinnacle Western civilization that featured myself in this momentous role of riding a mountain bike while wearing a kilt. Folks, we bring you that tonight. I got to find, here it is. Folks, sit down, hug your loved ones. This is the moment everybody's tuning in for. A pinnacle of Western civilization. And Wendy, we can talk live during this all we want to.
Can't talk during a pinnacle.
People pop pinnacles. Teenagers. There it is, folks. There it is. Along with Scotland the Brave. Now I'm getting on. The sun is shining down at this moment. Wow. I hope we don't get dinged for copyright violation with the music. Look at that. Get that for it. Look at that butt.
Wide angle.
Look at that. Maneuvering in a kilt. Guy singing. I'm in a kilt. The rocker clap. I'm breaking 3 miles an hour. I know, be proud of me. Be proud of what we've accomplished for humanity. I gotta do the hand wave. Kill. Bye.
So yeah, watching that from the rear, I can see why your camera's going wide angle.
Yeah, to capture that greatness of the kilt. The camera still wanted to go wide. It wants me to wear the kilt. That's where I'm going, and I'm totally bending this. And don't you mention that video with that great, well, I'll show another video. I'm referring to a video I sent Wendy earlier that has a great takedown where this guy's got a neck beard and he's protesting, and she goes, I don't know why you're protesting, why you have such a neck beard in your protest. You're talking about women's bodies. It was a college protest. We just call that the greatest takedown ever. Okay. So there you have it, folks. Please, we will continue to struggle through the rest of the show. There actually is no struggle because I know that you have a feeling of emptiness. You want to feel like calling a friend, but stick with us. We're going to bring you back up because from that amazing pinnacle, you feel in your heart, what is there left in this world? There is. You're going to discover the amazingness of our world, specifically one part of it, the Mojave Desert on this. And with that, wow, just Mona, are you wearing a kilt? Okay, well, we're about to bring you on. Folks, Kilt's just drip of toxic masculinity. Not just that, but awesomeness. Awesome. It drips of awesome toxicity. Masculine toxic masculinity, toxic awesomenessity. I did not make up that word. It just now exists. So with that, folks, we bring on something even better. What you can do and accomplish out in the desert, that beautiful desert we saw. Welcome to this week's episode of Late Night Craft Talk. Tonight's guest, we bring in Mona Daniels. Mona, here we go. Thank you, Mona. You are on the show.
No idea how I'm going to continue this rate. You're going to lose your audience after this, man. It's like, I can't keep up with that. That's like a great kickoff.
Yeah. Hey, a little closer. You're going to have to stick closer to your mic on this one.
Okay. Louder, right?
Yeah. A little louder and close to the mic. That's what we were dealing with earlier. It's just, I think it's not just the act of the kilt, but being out in that beautiful desert right there, because nothing says the beauty of the desert like a Scottish kilt.
Well, you did my job for me because you showed us a hiking trail, you showed us a bike trail, you showed us that they existed both in the Colorado Desert and the Mojave Desert. I mean, you can't go wrong.
I didn't mean
to talk about.
Other places. I mean, there's more than just La Quinta Cove and Amboy Crater, right?
That's true. There's a lot more.
Can we talk about those places in the Mojave Desert?
We're going to talk about some places, but I think I'm going to give you guys a history lesson first. So I'm hopefully I'll breeze through this presentation, and then I'll take as many questions from you and Wendy and the audience.
Gotcha. The audience is already enthused and get ready for this. I mean, already Carol Ann saying hello, welcome. And she's welcome, Mona. Well, sorry, that was Maya. Welcome. Maya. And thank you, Caroline. You showed it the Syrian style. Kill. Just can't go wrong.
Love it.
Yeah. And just to point out right now is that there's what my mom says.
Wide angle lens.
Yes, Vicky.
You know what? All I figure is, the more kilt, the better. You can say what you want, but you know what? Kilt. One word defense nullifies everything. Kilt.
I kept wanting to see a longer kilt, man. That leg was getting awful close to that choya there. I was like, sure you were coming home with some bristles.
No, not this time. I've almost fallen in a choya, but it's only a matter of time. It's like kayaking, what you do. You're always between swims. Okay. I'm going to set myself up for this, but you know that this is a family show. You can't take the jokes that far. I'm between pricks of a shoya. Folks, we're talking about the pointy things on the choya, okay? No. When we're off the air, then you can make your jokes. Okay. All right, we got to jump into business here. Also got to explain, Maya is our audience is what's really awesome about our audience is that they created, without Svea and I doing it, they've created their own culture around the show. And they call themselves the Frye Ninja Monster Hunter Squad.
Oh, we have a few of those out in the Mojave Desert too.
Obviously, but not as cool as our audience. And Maya is the El Presidente of the Frye Ninja Monster Hunter Squad of Late Night Craft Talk. It's a lot of words. So, wanted to show that. Well, there we go. I want to explain that. We like to tell that to our guests because they're kind of like, what is this? What is the audience doing with their jokes here? So, with that, should we jump into it?
Sure, go for it.
Got it. Okay. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your title, and then we'll bring on your PowerPoint?
Well, if you open up the first slide, we'll get going with that.
Okay, let me bring it on.
I have it timed, man. I have it timed.
Got it. Okay, so here is the PowerPoint.
Okay, so I am Ramona Daniels. I am with the Bureau of Land Management. I'm an outdoor recreation specialist in the Needles Field office. I've also worked in the Palm Springs office, and I've worked in the California Desert District area, which is the 5 southern offices, for the last 26 years. I am going to use a few acronyms. I thought I'd go over them with you now so that you knew what they were when I say them, if I say them. You'll hear OHV, off-highway vehicle. You'll hear OHMVR, that is the state's Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Division. You may hear the term ACEC. That stands for Area of Critical Environmental Concern. Those are special areas focused at protection. It could be biological, plant species. It could be cultural, protection of Native American areas. It's just a special area that's out in the middle of the desert. Also, the most important is FLIPMA. And I love that term, FLIPMA. It's the first term I learned working for BLM, and it stands for Federal Land Policy Management Act. So if you go to the second slide,
Wow.
we'll head on in. Yep, there you go. Okay, the brighter photo is what I want you guys looking at as I read through some of my notes here. The Bureau of Land Management gets its mission and authority from the Federal Land Policy and Management Act. It was created in 1976 and is often referred to as the Organic Act because it changed the BLM from an agency that disposed of lands to one that's stewardship and long-term planning with public involvement. It is through this act that we got the very first BLM law enforcement officers here in the California desert. That image is an outline of the Needles Field Office, and it's roughly 6 million acres within that pink line. The white area in the center is the Mojave Preserve, operated by the National Park Service, and all the yellow lands in there are the BLM. There's roughly, the BLM office in Needles manages about 3.2 million acres. 1 million is north of the white location and about 2.2 below. And in 1994, there was the California Protection Act, and it designated 69 natural areas from Yuma to Bakersfield as wilderness. The Needles Field Office manages 18 of these units, and they measure roughly 1.5 million acres in size. So of all the wildernesses designated under the California Desert Protection Act, we manage 21% of those units. In 2016, 9 years ago, in the southern section, remember this is only 2.2 million acres, 1.6 million acres were designated as the Mojave Trails National Monument. So you can see we're chewing up land in these land plans here. Each plan gets a little bit more precise every time we move along. You can go to the next slide. And also, I wanted to say, out of all of these areas, we manage roughly 3,200 miles of recreational vehicle trails. And these are trails that lead to different locations. As you can see in this slide, we've got points of, and this little brown line is to mimic a route. And it's showing that you've got roads that go to viewpoints and old cabins, preserves, scenic hiking trails, a lot of interesting things in our office, as well as like the Palm Springs office. So you've got multiple things. So within the California Desert District, there are 5 offices: El Central, Palm Springs, Barstow, Ridgecrest, and Needle. FLIPMA requires that public lands be managed for a variety of uses, including recreation, grazing, timber, not that we have much of that, mineral, watershed, wildlife, and scenic values. The slide depicts the recreation and scenic values within the Needles Field Office, and most trails within CDD, the California Desert District, lead to unique historical sites, hiking trails, and dispersed camping areas. During COVID, FLIPMA authorities allowed BLM to respond to a surge of recreation demands. People sought out isolated locations to enjoy with family, leaving the city behind and spending weeks on end out in the desert. This type of dispersed use hasn't been seen since the mid-1960s in areas like Borrego Springs, when we used to have all the trailers going down there. This created extra demands on the desert landscape, the routes, and places of interest. Visitors came to explore historic sites or travel the routes of the past. They researched and asked questions, and the BLM moved into the technology age, escorting visitors on virtual tours down the Bradshaw Trail, which has once carried stage coaches, or a visit to Lost Arch historic mining camp. And research sparked in me too during this period of time, because we were not just working 9 to 5 shifts. A lot of us were definitely on visual events like this at night. And we were talking to people because this was the only time that they could get a hold of us. So the research happened, and we had a lot of outreach 24/7 with the public during COVID. My research, I discovered that the Lost Arch Mine played a significant role in the creation of the Phoenix comic strips. The lead miner at that site, his name was Charlie Brown. And Charles Schultz lived in Needles, California. And for those of you that read the comic strip, Spike is a known character that lives in Needles, California.
I forgot about that.
Yep. The California desert offers outstanding hiking trails, such as Mexican Hat Trail in Needles, Painted Canyon in Palm Springs, and Spooky Canyon in Barstow. These trails are just part of a visit loaded with camping and OHV opportunities. This is where your adventures turn into multiple types of recreation use out there. Visits to sites such as the Old Woman's Preserve, which is that the up in the upper right-hand corner, the what do they call that? A ranch entrance. That's managed by the Native Americans Lands Conservancy. You've got places like Big Morongo Canyon, which offers opportunities to take hiking trails through the Cottonwood Oasis, a rare thing in the desert, and learn about the different vegetation and the wildlife in the area. Next slide, please. So as you can see from this slide, adventurers have been using trails within our area for nearly 250 years, and Native Americans have used them for much longer. Did you know that the backbone of the American transportation system is based on prehistoric and historic trails of the past? For example, a prehistoric message trail has become Interstate 10, and parts of a historic Santa Fe trail and our own Mojave Trail are closely associated with Route 66 and Interstate 40. In the last slide, the photos depicted areas along the prehistoric Salt Song Trail. In the 1800s, prospectors followed these trails to the Lost Arch Inn area and possibly the location of the last native-to-native war in the United States. As we develop new land plans, we can expand on what we have learned from the past. We can protect Native American interests, and we can share the ranching, railroad, mining, and military histories of the area. And we can do so through well-developed, well-signed, and well-maintained route systems and partners with public groups. In 1971, the Chaffee-Zeeberg Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Act was created. It called for identification of areas and trails where OHV users could experience the vast landscapes and the beauty of California. In 1994, the OHMVR introduced the California Backcountry Discovery Trails that started BLM in completing inventories of routes to be designated. In 2002, Needles approved their designated routes, and within the DRECP, which stands for the Desert Renewable Energy Conservation Plan, mouthful, we merged our route systems and introduced the Mojave Adventure Route System. As you can see in the photos in this slide, we've got Father Garces up in the right-hand corner. This is America 250 right here. He hiked through the area 250 years ago, and very important piece of history for the United States. Down below, 1820, first white man starts across the desert, and that's Jedediah Smith. And that is a painting that depicts him coming across. In the 1940s, the territory from the Mexican border to Las Vegas, from Phoenix to Pasadena, was considered the maneuvering area for World War II, and it prepared men to go to war in East or North Africa. They'd never experienced heat like that before. They came here, they trained, and they won. So give kudos to the desert. OHV Recreation, that's my little Jeep going down a road out in the middle of the desert. And you can see Jeeps have changed the way we discover our deserts. So next slide, please. The Mojave Adventure Route System, and we call it MARS, so there you go, offers scenic vistas, challenging routes with connectivity to other offices, remote camping locations, historic sites, and the opportunity for further exploration. We have one or more prehistoric or historic trail associated with each of our 5 special recreation management areas. And to determine where the highest amount of use is occurring, we have strategically placed vehicle counters throughout the area. This assists recreation, law enforcement, and maintenance crew identify project priorities. The Needles Field Office shares the border with both Arizona and Nevada, and the lands within our field office serve the needs of year-round residents from the tri-state area. Winter visitors between October and March increase the use of our trail system, and special recreation permit participants also return with families and friends to explore further into the desert. The Needles niche is unique in that it offers OHV trails to backcountry uncrowded destination, and it promotes a love of land and stewardship of desert resources. Therefore, we named our trail system the Mojave Adventure Route System, and it is not surprising that our new monument was called the Mojave Trails National Monument. Next frame, please.
Gotcha. I do have a question on this one, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
You know, that we were talking about the over 3,000 miles of trails, and I'm just going to backtrack just very quickly to a map that showed the area. There it is. To do that, you talk about all the 3,000 miles of trails and the areas that you cover. The area you cover is, I mean, the millions. To visualize that, this is an area bigger than what? Delaware?
So let's put it this way. The California Desert Conservation Area. So if you look at the background map and you kind of draw a triangle from the top of the unit down toward San Diego, about halfway to San Diego, and then out to what we call the chin of California, that little loop that's on the very bottom.
The very eastern part, yeah.
Yeah, that is about the size of Iowa.
Okay, I'm getting a serious reaction. This is the size of Iowa?
The California Desert Conservation Area is about the size of Iowa.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, you think the state's like, definitely bigger than the Marine Corps base out in 29 is bigger than the state of Rhode Island.
It's really fun, and I'm so glad we've got AI now, because I can go in there and say, how big is this, and get measurements. We're having fun doing a lot of this now, but we've got basically the California Desert Conservation Area is about, I want to say 53 million acres. Don't hold me to that, guys. Don't hold me to that.
No fact checking on this one. Let's just say about the size of the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, California's the third biggest state. That is a big area. Oh my gosh. All right, let me go back. I mean, I'm like beklept here. I'm like, dude. Let me go back to the slide.
That's okay. Let's see. I think you're on restoration. One up. There you go.
Okay.
This one is really, we get a lot of different grants. We get OHV grants. We get federal grants, specialty grants that come in. And sometimes we get a lot of volunteer work. And This is a trail that we've done restoration on the picture before that showed my vehicle coming down a road. This is actually that road. And this road was closed because to the right of it is actually a spring site. A lot of people would come out here and camp, but the spring was down in the wetland and in the actual creek, the water flow. And so responsible care is to get people out of the water. Now it's not enough water to go play in. It's just enough for wildlife to come down and steal water off of. But the important action here was to get people out of the water and allow those animals free movement along the water edge. So what we did was we closed this road, and we've now moved hiking. Instead of down in the wash, we've moved it up this hill and across the back and kept them high out of the water zone. And what this has done is it has allowed us to actually have people come in and enjoy watching the wildlife. They can actually see the hawks, the bird life. We can see bighorn sheep come in down the mountainside. And so it gives us a high perch to actually watch this action that's out there. And so it was a good movement on our side. We did a fairly good job, I think, of hiding that 2-track and turning it into a single track. That was done probably about 10 years ago, and it probably needs to be redone again, but it was pretty successful. You can see over on the left-hand side, we do what's called vertical mulching. And that's where you take deadened down materials, you plant it upright so it looks like it's a living thing. But before we do that, we actually take the tuff, that's the material that's underneath the seed layer that's underneath a live plant. We rake it out, collect it, put it in that hole, allow that stem to be planted upright. And a lot of people, oh, why are you doing that? Just put the seed in and plant it. No, what happens is because there's so low water in the desert, the water actually catches on the stems, and it acts as a movement corridor down to where the seed is. So more water would go in this hole because of that vertical material than if we had left it without vertical material. The next one down was an OHV grant we did to actually determine how many saguaros actually survived in California in our area. And we counted roughly about 150 on our lands, and we know there's probably another 150 on lands within the Metropolitan Water District enclosure. But that's about 300 cactus that survive here, and it's not known to really exist in California. Everybody thinks of saguaros as being an Arizona cactus, and we have 3 locations in California in which saguaros grow, and ours is one of those areas.
Yeah, and that's the area up in the hills just immediately west of Parker Dam, right?
You got it.
Yeah, I remember when you took me up there once during a Val South expedition, one of the charity paddles I do, our audience is aware of those. And I'm going, I had no idea.
Yeah. And it's very, for winter people that come down here, this is an area that they get a little bit of off-highway vehicle visual. It is a beautifully stunning area for people that are in OHV to take the power line back there across the mountain. A little bit thrill-seeking, but also it gets you up to a high point over the Colorado River, and the colors are absolutely stunning. We actually measure colors. We measure scenic value, and that area comes in as one of the top scenic values in our area.
Oh yeah, so the natural arches in that area too.
Yep. Very, very interesting area. And we discovered something unique about the saguaro cactuses back there, is that in Arizona, they use the mesquite as what they call a nurse plant. The plant survives, shelters the smaller plant underneath it, and eventually as that plant grows up, the mesquite dies off. Well, in this area, they use a Palo Verde tree. They don't use mesquite. So the Palo Verdes are there, and there's a little bit of a competition right now because the wild horse and burros, we have burros down there, and the burros use the Palo Verdes for shade. So there's a competition between the wildlife and the cactus and making sure that we manage that correctly. So
the burros, they're just being a bunch of about that.
This is a really interesting one. I'm not going to read my notes from this slide so that we can move on, but this is very much an area that is watched over. It's not an ACEC, but it is viewed and watched, and we routinely look for our known cactuses. We have had poachers in there, so the cactuses are protected under state law, and we watch for any poaching, illegal poaching, and stealing of the saguaro cactuses. And if many of you are on the phone or on the call today are from the Coachella Valley area, the saguaro cactuses over at College of the Desert were actually some of the poached saguaros. And I believe there's about 6 of them over there against the, help me out, it's not Cook, it's Cook Street and Monterey.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's over on the Monterey side.
Yeah, the Monterey side, College of the Desert is 20 minutes from me. I've got to go there in a couple of days. I did not know that some of the saguaros there, and I was just there a few days ago.
Yeah, there's some
Some
saguaros
of the
there, and
saguaros in the desert. Wow.
were illegal takes, and the Bureau of Land Management managed to get them given to the college, and very interesting plant. But yeah, they were illegal takes, and they couldn't come back to the desert, so they placed them in the herbarium sections or the garden areas of the college.
I had no idea. That's cool.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right.
I recognize those bums.
Do you recognize those bums?
Well, one of them in the picture,
So
maybe 2.
So Atmos says that the whole reason we're doing all of this is to protect lands in danger of destruction. And when he's talking about bums here, he's in the lower right-hand corner. And he's helping one of our, I believe it was our geologist that was there with you that day.
No, that's not the second bum.
That's the second one in the cream color. And we had quite a crew of Boy Scouts out here doing this one. You can see in the second frame, we had illegal vehicle intrusion. And through OHV funding, we get equipment to actually repair these routes. This is not a route. This is what's called an illegal vehicle intrusion into wilderness. This was not just across the desert. This was into a wilderness where, if any of you know, wilderness is no mechanized and no motorized equipment in wilderness. So we go in there and we rake, smooth, brush these lines out, try to make them disappear so that it doesn't lead to more vehicles coming in. But through the grant program, we're able to bring in the fencing materials, such as you see in the upper right-hand frame. This allows us to get out there. And the third frame is actually a couple of ladies there, and they marked 10 miles of road that day. They went out and pounded carsonites in the ground, and the actual designated route was signed and numbered. And that again is also a very important part of any of the field offices. If you have your signs in place, you're not going to have as much illegal intrusion going on because they're going to follow the road markers and not go off road. However, when they do, we're putting up a lot of fencing, which is what is happening in that lower right-hand corner. Having a well-defined route system and interpreting messaging, both in the field and at contact points, the visitor centers, allows for the decrease of resource damage to the land. And we also provide interpretive messaging. We develop kiosk panels, large 6x4 foot signs. Often they have maps, they have rules and regs on them. They tell you about the area, they inform you. And what we've found as we do the kiosk signings, that over time we're seeing less and less of them shot because the messages are becoming things that families share with friends. They become interesting messages, and even the shooters like what's on the board, so they don't shoot them as much. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, now I'm going to go a little bit more into the grants here. And it's very, very difficult for a small office to manage 3.2 million acres of land. Between writing plans, doing monitoring of landscapes, permits, there's a lot of work that's involved. And up here, you're going to see how our sign program goes. We have different layers of it. The large sign that you see in the upper right-hand corner, that is a tier 1. It's an introduction to an area. They're typically 4 to 6 feet in size. And tier 2s, you'll see those at campgrounds telling you about what happened and where the trails are around the campground. A tier 3 is something that might be a story about the condors in an area, the mountain lions, the bighorn sheep. It introduces you to the unique resources of the area. And then, of course, then we have the tier 4, which is our rules and regulations. It's very important to teach these messages early on. So we try to get into schools, we get into fairs, and we share these messages with people. In 2024, 2025, beginning of this year, late last year, we had to install 3 miles of fencing along the Ivanpah wind sailing site to prevent vehicle intrusion in the area. I don't know if any of you know where Ivanpah is, but it's located out by Prim, Nevada on the way into Las Vegas. It's big, where the big power towers are, and they glow in that valley. So that lake bed right there is used to set international records for speed by wind-powered sailors. And those carts, one cart, Greenbird in particular, reached speeds of 180 miles an hour out there. Well, we put the fence in place. The lake is about 6,000 acres in size. And the slightest rut in that lake will cause one of those carts to flip. And so we have to protect the smoothness of the surface of the lake. And so it's not only used by wind recreationalists. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do. The question came in as to, do they get fined? Yes. But we use, a couple of years ago, we had buses, cars, RVs, everybody trying to shortcut the traffic jam to Las Vegas and go across the lake bed. And the lake bed was slightly damp. So we had enormous ruts in the lake bed. And during this time of year with the monsoons and the weather conditions, the lake bed will actually get wet. And as the wind blows across it, it settles. It might be this much in water, but as the wind blows across it, that silt actually fills the ruts. But if you're hitting it at a season when it's still wet and you're not going into monsoons, which is what happened, the dents are there in the lake bed. And we permit a lot of operations out there for people to recreate. Everything from Boy Scout model rocketry to human-powered air flight, great big bicycle active airplanes. We have special permits to NASA that they might do experiments out there on the lake bed. And if we have that lake bed destroyed, we're unable to do those events out there and to allow a non-motorized type of recreation in the area. So it's very important that we get grants like this to help us maintain these recreation sites for non-motorized visitors. So, going back to FLIPMA, they want us to have multiple use. Well, you also have to have multiple use in recreation. That's OHV, equestrian, hiking, wind sailing. So you have to have these opportunities available, and you have to have that line that says, you're here and we're here. And you pray that they coordinate. But those are just some of the issues that we run across. Let's see. You can go to the next slide. So the Needles law enforcement perform many tasks, and they get a large grant from the OHMVR. The Rangers are challenged with enforcement of OHV rules and regulations on route systems, which is spread over the large landscape, as you can imagine. Law enforcement rangers believe it is important to educate the public regarding the protection of natural resources. Very likely, you're going to get a 45-minute lecture before you get a 5-minute ticket. So this is something that they are trained to do. Enforcement of OHV activities is both time and labor intensive, and OHV grants aid in supporting these expenses. Rangers spend 80% of their time in the field patrolling on the Mojave Adventure Route system and protecting the unique conservation lands and resources. They drive the routes, which border 18 wilderness units, and monitor for vehicle trespass and intrusion. Rangers also assist staff with presentations and community events. They join in on volunteer projects and help on restoration and other grant projects. Rangers advise recreation staff with the development of proper regulatory signing. This supports their ability to enforce rules, as regulations and federal codes are posted on signs throughout the field office for public acknowledgement. So that gives you a kind of an idea of what goes on. You can see up here how we changed some signing. We've got in the center photo an old sign. The black sign is the new one. Very tiny writing, but we have to post these in order to give the rules and regulations to law enforcement on the ground. You'll see a lot more signs out there that are larger print, but these are in our areas and it helps the control. The event down in the bottom right-hand corner, that was interesting. A lot of people, about 200 people in an area, unauthorized event. We didn't know it was going on. They were parking everywhere. They were impacting the tribal area. It was quite a scene, and they were called into that. And when you have 2 law enforcement officers that day, you have to call in California Highway Patrol, San Bernardino County Sheriffs, and these agencies also get OHV funding to help with events like this. And as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, we've got a law enforcement officer who actually was working the desk, helping the public move across the area. And I grabbed my camera and took a picture as fast as I could. But law enforcement love working with the people. And very often we go on ride-alongs to see what they're seeing. And then we turn it around into positive messaging and try to get our signs up to help with that. So I hope this helps a little bit. We do have, of the 5 Southern California offices, 3 of them have off-highway vehicle areas. The Barstow, El Central, and Ridgecrest offices have open OHV areas. And the Palm Springs and the Needles area have what are known as trail offices. We are backcountry discovery trails. And we do that because we know that we can't have every niche filled in every office. So at least we try to have it close enough to be able to journey to those areas. And thank you. Any questions?
Other than just the one about the intruders getting on, but some other questions is, I mean, just kind of comment is about as far as like the law enforcement officers. Should I go to the last slide or is that it, by the way?
Go ahead and go to the last slide.
Okay.
Yep. So what are you able to do to support public lands? This could be anything from organizing a cleanup event or making a phone call to an office when you see something that you think is wrong, like a saguaro being dug out of the ground. This is the need for public input and support. And in today's present, environment, we really could use as much support from the public as we can get. So, thank you.
Got it. So, let me go ahead and get that out right quick. So, I mean, one thing is I've learned is just to back up and just, from my own observations is like the law enforcement officer. They really do give a damn. They love talking to the public. When we were out our first time at doing the service project between the Scouts and Bureau of Land Management over at Amboy Crater, and I met the single law enforcement officer for that area
Yeah.
that's only half the size of Iowa that he covers.
Yeah.
Um,
What did he do? Off came the uniform shirt, t-shirt, grabbed the rake, the shovel, the fence pounders, the
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the one Leo we had out there, the BLM Leo, he wasn't doing that day, but he had to cover some other areas. And, I'm having to cover lunch and stuff there, the admin stuff during the project. And I got in a conversation with him. The dude's schooling me. I didn't know that there were graveyards to Chinese railroad workers along National Parks Road there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had no idea. These were put in during when obviously the railroad was being built out in the West, and that there's graveyards out there for that. And I'm like, how close did it go? It's like a few miles that way, and another one. I'm like, they do this. He's talking about he likes to go over and check it out, do this. The dude is as much as a history nerd as I am, and all three of us, obviously. But the dude's like, oh yeah, this, and this. He gives it. He loves what he does. He loves the area. They do it for the love of it, not because it's a job and they just happen to be stationed there or whatever. So much the heart's in it with y'all.
Yeah, when I made the comment about FLIPMA bringing on some of the very first California Desert Protection officers, those guys had their degrees in biology. They weren't police, they weren't cops, they were biologists that put guns on. And that, that level of love has been passed on through many of the resource officers since then. So many of the officers have backgrounds in geology, biology. The one you had, that was different. He has I remember when he first came on board, and it was a little bit of a reach for him because he was military he was a military police officer.
Yeah, I remember talking to him. He was a cool dude.
Yeah, he's a very cool dude, and he is probably one of our most beloved guys. He is he's one of our special helicopter jumpers. So he's
Awesome.
So he's very skilled, and he comes in handy for search and rescues, marijuana fields, a lot of stuff, and very excellent guy to work with. And but the very first officers that I worked with, so when I came on board as a student intern, and they placed me to be trained under the law enforcement guys, because our rec staff at that time was also very minimal. They couldn't get to the field. They couldn't teach us like they needed me to be taught. So they said, Mona, you're going over there to be taught. And so I was trained under law enforcement. And it was very interesting for me because law enforcement retires early. And I was a returning to school mom. And so I was coming in as they were going out, and we were basically almost the same age. So it was like having this overlap of the first crew coming in as I was coming on. I learned the old ways that our offices used to function, but as a student and coming in, I also was going forward into the new age. And it was very interesting to see how law enforcement made that transition from biology into law enforcement and so forth. But they do know a lot, and they'd rather educate than cite. It's I remember one instance where I was riding with a shotgun with one of our law enforcement officers, and young kid was with his dad, and the young kid, probably 14, 15 years old, is laughing endlessly. And it was finally like, why are you laughing at us? And the kid goes, because we have a teacher over at our high school that taught us all about wilderness last week. And I saw the wilderness signs and told Dad he couldn't drive in here.
Love it.
So Dad got a
Love
lesson.
it.
Yeah. So it was nice that we do have that message in the schools that they're learning out there, but we just got to keep it going. It just got to keep it going.
When the parent is guilted by the kid.
Yeah, it was a pretty good example of the fact that kids are learning, and but that I hate to know what happened when he got home.
Well, I mean, if the parents are going to get, I mean, it's kind of an ego check coming from your son when your son's doing this, going, "Dad, this is wrong," to
This
the
is
parents a
wrong,
lot of
Dad. This is
times.
wrong. Yeah, yeah. But recreation wise, I started as an off-highway vehicle contact. I'm a wilderness coordinator now out at the office I'm in. But I have literally, seen all the different types of uses that are out there. Um, it was really funny as a recreation specialist a number of years ago. We had people reaching out to us to see if gerbling was allowed. And we were all like, what the heck is gerbling? Any idea, Wendy? Gerbling
Are we talking
is
Richard Gere type thing here?
no, no, no,
Good.
no, 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 no.
No.
It has a new name now. I don't remember what it's called, but it's when the bubbles were first introduced, and they were used on rivers mostly and lakes where you'd get in the bubble and roll.
Okay.
Well, in places
Gotcha.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, in some of the places more central coast, inland valley, poppy fields and straws and grasses, they put people in these balls and they roll them down hills. And yeah, well, they wanted to bring these balls to the desert because they felt that, the vegetation out here could, it was boring. There was nothing on the ground. And it was like, no, you can't come out here and roll over the vegetation here because once you destroy those cactuses, they're not coming back. So it's different if you're rolling over grass than if you're rolling over cactuses. So gerbling was one of those things that we were not allowed to have occur in the desert. Um, Another type of activity that just doesn't fit the desert, um, paintball. A
No.
lot of
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot
No.
of
Doesn't
people were
go.
taking paintballs out and they were enjoying warfare in the dwellings, the historic buildings and structures in the desert, and they were destroying them. And so these are buildings, and our land plans say that we are supposed to protect the ranching, railroad, and mining histories of the past. And so in the desert, there are some very interesting things like homes that are built out of creosote timbers that were used as railroad ties. And since there was no wood out here, they would buy the railroad ties from the railroad and at 10 cents a log. And they would build their houses out of creosote soaked timbers. And for some of you guys that may not know this, that means they were living in a very hazmat house. Creosote is considered a hazmat, but they were spending, their kids were growing up in these things. And to my knowledge, I know where there are 2 creosote houses in the desert still.
Wow.
No, they didn't. They were that hard, nasty. Mostly when they if the people that did try to use the bubbles for your information, for the question, the cactuses tore them apart. So they weren't very good in the end.
I'm
So
about to say, let's seal ourselves in a big plastic bubble, go wander through the desert, and then watch the cactus screw up our plans.
yeah, yeah. Would you like to be the guy that's laying there as it rolls over a jumping cholla? No.
I'm
Would you
about to
like
say, let's go.
first?
Considering they're in a bubble and lets out the air, and all of a sudden the bubble deflates on them.
Yeah.
There's a reason why plastic baggies are used, or giant sandwich baggies used by mafia on hits. That's just called Darwinism.
I get a kick out of the fact that, in the summer times out here, we tend to take a little bit of air off our tires because we're not on sand rolled gravel. We're on sharp, angular, really hard rock. And if you're completely inflated in a tire in the summertime, the temperatures out here, Amboy Crater's a good one. The highest last week, 119, I think, out at Amboy Crater. Wendy, how high did it get out there by you? You were probably about 5 degrees cooler.
Yeah, we were about 113.
Okay. So, yeah,
A little
it was
warm.
about 119 out at Amboy. 119 on volcanic black surfaces is about 150. And so it can be extremely hot out there. And I don't know where I was going with this conversation. But
I know where.
We were
About to say,
talking
in
about
that
your-
temperature, and people from Europe
tires,
decide to go on
tires,
vacation. Huh?
tires.
Yeah, tires.
But if you don't down air your tires just a little, you don't have that give, and those rocks at that temperature act just like a knife and cut our tires all to pieces in the summertime. And so it's a lot of people are like, oh, let's go out there and joyride, and then they blow all the tires on their vehicle and have to try to figure out how to walk back in. Yeah, not the desert is a desert for a reason. There aren't that many houses out here for a reason. So
Yeah, I've never learned that where I've had to change tires out in the desert bikepacking a few times, but thank God it wasn't in the summer.
we had some people that came out here especially to go up into the Old Woman's Mountain Wilderness. Their grandfather had been a prospector, and when the boys came out to go up into the mountains, they went out in May, and I get a photo back of a guy's foot with a hiking boot on, with bandanas tied around the shoe because the soles melted right off his shoes. I've seen that happen to my mentor out here. The shoes fall apart. You better have a sewn bottom because it's not staying on. So, yeah.
No kidding. We have a very cool question from Carol Ann right here.
Okay.
How can we find out how to volunteer our time?
Easily. Any BLM office all you have to do is call and ask for their outdoor recreation planner, and they will tie you up into volunteer positions.
Their version of Mona, but not as cool.
Yeah. I'm the oldest, longest surviving one in our district, but they're all cool. They're all cool. And they all need volunteers. If you are somebody that has a background in biology or zoology, that side of the house always is looking for volunteers. The archaeologists sometimes will take volunteers. And then for people that have RVs and want to help, like be campground hosts, there's always opportunities through recreation or volunteer.gov. So that's another avenue. Or just talk to James. He'll tell you.
No, yeah, I can. I'll throw it. I'll go ahead and include that information with us because we're going to start bringing out PAL calendars because of the fall PAL season. I'll include a volunteer calendar. Matter of fact, there is a thing coming up where you can volunteer. This is a special day called National Public Lands Day coming up into September. September.
Do you have the date?
Google.
I don't have the date.
I am going to Google it right quick.
Okay.
So Google says, I'm typing it in now. Well, my phone's already taken up. We're actually 10 minutes into overtime. We still got one more thing to take care of. But let's go ahead and close on this one. When is National Public Lands Day? National Public Lands Day is September 27th, 2025.
Perfect. And then if you're anywhere near Big Morongo, check them out too.
Yep. I'm going to read the Google entry. National Public Lands Day festivities will take place on Saturday, September 27th. For information on this year's celebration, visit neefusa.org. Just Google it.
Yeah,
that's a long domain. Yeah, but it's one of those things where you can find out for volunteer opportunities, like volunteer for something on National Public Lands Day. That's a great day to do this.
Yep.
And we've done stuff where we've talked about National Trails Day on here. And I know, like, we've got our project where we're going back out to Ramboy Crater with the Scouts, that collaboration between Scouts and, Needles Office of BLM, November 15th. But that's one of those things we really can't bring general public because it can't work with Scouts on that, with Scout rules.
Yeah. But we tend to have events with Sierra Club where they take the lead, and usually the end week of March, solstice, I think that's the period of time. And we take outsiders. They join the Sierra Club group for the weekend, and it's camping and project and a blast. And so that's always something to do. And Sierra Club's aging out, and they'll take as many young people on an event as we can get. So yeah, that's an organization that needs more young people.
Got it. I'll add that information about, obviously you're going to multitask here because I can only do so many things. But I'll include after the conclusion. Folks, if you check back, I'll put it down in the comments. Links to volunteer with the Bureau of Land Management for that, and information on National Public Lands Day. I'll amend the posts on our Facebook and YouTube pages because I've got access to Dancing Bear and Elk Crack, same with Svea, with vice versa with Svea. That will include that information, the equivalent of called show notes. You can see that because a lot of our viewers are actually, most of our views come after the show, in the 5 days after each show, and we're going to probably get several tonight. So include that information. And with that, we are 11 minutes into overtime. We kind of ran late, but we're on a roll on this one. So with that, obviously, I want to say that Svea will be back. She'll be talking about the Beach Shop Hop. Remember, today is her birthday, so if you got Svea on your friends list, wish her a happy birthday on that one. And there's like birthdays all around. I got an aunt with a birthday tomorrow. And I think, folks, somebody else on here has a birthday tomorrow. It ain't Wendy. It ain't Wendy. It's Mona. Mona's turning 25.
Celebrating the big one tomorrow.
The big one. So today's birthday for Svea. Tomorrow, Mona. We're getting toward midnight, so we're in that in-between time right there. But I think we need to do a birthday for you. But we can't do a normal birthday to sing you both happy birthday on this one. Any ideas what we can do to make it different?
I think we should probably do something along the lines of the Great Pinnacle.
Really? The
I
bike?
think so.
Yes.
Not
Well, it just
just bike,
happened
not
to
just
be
the bike.
not just the bike. I happen to have right here a bike helmet. But if you're talking the Pinnacle, do you want with the kilt too?
You better keep it on.
The full Monty.
Yeah, you better keep it on.
Yeah.
I just happen to be right now. I'm going to try staying in the chair without it falling down. I happen to be wearing a kilt right now. I happen to be wearing that kilt, and I have a bike helmet. Matter of fact, Mom, I'm about to put on the camera onto the bike. My mom's out there with the camera. We just happen to have the bike out there in front of my truck, the only Indian truck. We could probably do this. She's listening to us right now. We can hear her here. Move away from the camera. Move away from the camera. Thank you. I'll be out there. So, what do you think? We need to do a Pinnacle right here live on the show.
I think so.
A birthday Pinnacle, a double birthday
Live.
Pinnacle, right? Okay. Well, you know what, folks?
Let's go.
We're making history right here on the show. As soon as I can figure out how to untangle the strap on the helmet. There's too many moving parts. I'm blonde and brain damaged. Brain damaged. Brain damaged.
What are you worrying about?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to set an example for the kids. I don't want to get guilted by the kids going, you didn't wear a bike helmet. So with that, let me highlight this. And then do this.
And yes, Fawn, that kilt is familiar.
The what?
I said, yes, Fawn, that kilt is familiar. You recognize it. Fawn Cambon?
Is she watching?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to get so many technical parts. Okay, I'm trying to get this to lay out and not do the solo. It's not working too well. Yes, Fawn, it was those. I actually talked to Connie Perry earlier.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
Okay, if this doesn't work in a second, we're just going to go with this layout. Okay, how's that?
It's pretty visible.
That's
Okay.
good.
I'm going to walk out to the. I'm going to go walk out to the bike, and we're going to do this amazingness. Yep, there's Fawn. Hi, Fawn. So give me a sec.
Oh, I think that truck needs a paint job.
It's a desert truck.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
It's like my truck is 36 years old, so she doesn't have a lot of paint left, but she's got a nice patina.
Okay. You turn it. Turn it.
There-
Okay, y'all folks hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, because the volume's really low on this. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Because for some reason the volume's being like stupid low on the phone right here. So I will
You're
go do
fine.
this. Let me position because we just happen to have things out here. Let me go ahead and I'm going to move the camera out there. Let's see how we can see it.
Yeah, because if we can't see it, it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's the way it usually works. So let me dip this down. We're going to get a light on the situation and I will bring out the bike.
Oh, God. Hasn't anybody told him he's not supposed to ride after dark?
Let's see if he has a light on his bike. I've got it on.
I do this for America. So I do this for the double birthday, folks. Prepare themselves. I don't know how well it's going to turn out here with the lights and everything. We haven't really done this before. But prepare themselves for this. Let me dip the camera down for this dip. You got to dip it for the dip. For this, live on the air, late night craft talk. A double birthday song whilst riding a bike, whilst wearing a kilt. I shall begin. Cover your mouth right now so people won't see your mouth agape and embarrass themselves. Cover your mouth. So they won't see you agape going, wow. And so they won't realize how hard you're laughing at me because I'm such an idiot. I shall begin. Okay.
You know, when he said dip, I don't know if he's talking about dipping on the ground or whether he was calling himself a dip.
I know. Still a little confusing there.
Yeah, just a little.
Oh, do you hear me okay? Happy birthday to you.
You know, this is almost
Happy
like,
birthday to you.
can he pat and rub his stomach at the same time type exercise.
Right?
Happy birthday to Svea and Mona. Happy birthday to you. And that was me singing happy birthday to both of you whilst wearing a kilt live on Late Night Crap Talk. Amazingness. Mona, I can see you have not covered your mouths, your jaws, or to the floor. I want to see a doctor about that. So give me a minute. I will give you a topic to discuss while I bring the bike back into the garage and go over to the office and shut down this camera from this amazingness because my phone's probably going to melt from this radiant awesomeness heating up the atmosphere around me. I'll give you a topic to discuss. Kilts. Do they embody and just breathe, just exhume toxic masculinity? Discuss.
I
Well, it
have seen
depends on
some
the
really
person
cool
wearing it.
videos.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've seen some really cool videos on the interwebs with very fit guys wearing kilts doing yoga. So
I get a kick out of watching the videos where they've accordion folded all the fabric and
yes.
then they get on the ground and they roll
Roll.
and you're like,
And then belt.
it
So
makes me
Maya wants
wonder. It makes me wonder, did these guys used to lay in the dirt or the mud and roll to put their kilts on back 200 years ago?
They did, but usually they tried to do it like at home first, and then, but the kilt was used. That's why it was so big, and they had to pleat it because they could use it as a blanket, like a rain poncho, a shelter, like a tent half. So that's why it was so big. So I imagine, even though they started out at home, they probably had to, like, at some point, especially if they were using it for a tent, do it out in the dirt.
I was trying to tell them about that second piece that flaps down. You put the first
Yes.
part on and you tie the kilt. The
Yeah,
second
because then you
piece
pull it like,
drops
and then you pull it
or
up
goes
over
up
your
over
head.
the
Yeah,
goes up and over as a sash or comes up and over as a hood, and you just don't
right.
have enough fabric on your legs, dude.
I know.
Okay.
And Maya wants to know, Mona, what you're doing for your birthday.
Well, considering my age and the fact that I have a daughter that's about her 30s, and well, today's Friday, and well, it kind of lines up with freaky things. So, yeah, we're going to go see a movie.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, we're going to go see a freakier Friday movie.
Which movie?
Yeah.
So
New one.
for people on here, I was sporting the Jamie Lee Curtis haircut before Jamie Lee Curtis. And so my little gray hair I used to have very, very short. And yeah, and so there's this thing about the haircut that's in the very first movie was kind of me with the gel and the stuff. And so yeah, I definitely got to go see the second Freaky Friday. Besides that,
When I remember when I first met you, you had a Linda Carter haircut.
oh yeah, that was, well, I've known you for like 30 years. You used to know me when it was clear down here too. But who is it? I'm going to screw up his name. Chad Michael Murray. Is that the young kid that's in the movie? He played the boyfriend in the first one. His birthday's the same day as mine too. So.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, that's way coincident.
So you see, I'm not just celebrating my birthday when I go see that movie. I've got to go to the movie to celebrate his too. So.
Because you're just selfless like that.
I like how
I'm nice for
I like
people.
how she brings it all together.
Yeah.
Oh heck yeah! Svea's got the birthday month.
She's taking the whole month.
She takes the whole month to do her birthday. She's into it. So, we're officially 23 minutes into overtime.
Well, I want to thank you for inviting me on the show.
We loved it. You came on. Thank you so much for coming on and talk about this cool stuff and helping celebrate your birthday.
Like Trek On and all that fun stuff. And we'll stay in touch. But thank you so much. And yeah, invite me back.
Oh yeah, you got the invitation. Matter of fact, when you came on, you and I were texting, folks. Initially, Mona and I were texting about her coming on. When I was still on the Green River and gone for a week, the last week of June, we're texting through satellite, setting dates and stuff like this.
Yeah,
we've been looking forward to this for a couple of months now.
Well, if you ever do, like in October, Ghost Stories of the Desert, I'll give you a couple.
Got it. We definitely want to have you come back on. You got an open invitation. Let me know when you got something you want to do cool, and we'll get you back on, definitely.
Okay. You guys take care, and thank you much.
No, Mark, go ahead. Hang out for a minute. We still got to do the closing credits and all that. So, okay. All right, folks, this has been this week's episode of Late Night Craft Talk. Thank you, Mona. Always awesome to have Wendy.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. This has been a fun one, folks. Here's closing credits. Mona, we're going to run. You haven't seen the closing credits. They're a little different. Don't worry about the bad singing voice at the beginning of the credits. And there's a lot of Easter eggs in there we might explain later. It's different. So, folks, let me bring it up. We'll see you next week. Remember, Svea's back next week talking about Beach Shop Hop. I'll be gone. We'll both be back in 2 weeks with fun stuff. We got some cool stuff coming up. Remember, we also have our build up to Halloween through October, our whole series of Halloween specials all the way to October 31st. That's on a Friday. So lots of stuff cool coming up, and we'll see you next week. As soon as I find, there it is. Okay, here we go.
Oh, you ain't woman enough. Take my man.
My neighbor shared me a lot. And we dance. Dan? No, I rode a bike in school.
Oh, ain't he cute?
That's Jar Jar Pickles. Svea hates him. That's why I love bringing him on so much. All right. See you next week.